Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're topping the hood on VPNs, or virtual private networks. We see ads for these constantly, right? They promise total privacy, ultimate security, and literally making you invisible online. But do they actually deliver on all that? Today, we're going to break down the exact mechanics of how your data moves across the internet, how a VPN fundamentally changes that journey, and figure out whether they truly protect you or if they just create a completely different set of vulnerabilities.
To really get why we even use VPNs in the first place, picture this. You're chilling at a local coffee shop, sipping your latte, and you decide to log into your bank account, or maybe send a highly sensitive work document over the public Wi-Fi. Now, it feels like a private little moment between you and your screen, but the reality, you are essentially shouting this information out into a very public digital space. So the immediate question you've got to ask yourself is, who exactly is listening? Like, who is actually intercepting this information right out of the air?
Well, here's our roadmap for today to figure that out. First, we'll look at public Wi-Fi perils. Second, the anatomy of your data. Third, we'll step inside the actual VPN tunnel. Fourth, we'll talk about the transfer of trust. And finally, we'll wrap up by comparing Tor versus a VPN.
Okay, let's jump right into part 1, public Wi-Fi perils.
The most immediate danger you face out in the wild is an attack known as the evil twin. Sounds like something from a sci-fi movie, right? But it's very real. You sit down, open your laptop, and click on a network called coffeeshop_guest. It seems totally normal, but what you don't realize is that an eavesdropper, sitting maybe just 3 tables away from you, has set up a fake network using that exact same name. So your laptop connects to their malicious hotspot instead of the real router. And boom, just like that, they've positioned themselves right in the middle of your connection. They can secretly capture, inspect, and log your data packets before they even make it out onto the wider internet.
That brings us to section 2, the anatomy of your data. Because before we can build a tunnel to protect ourselves, we have to understand what we're actually sending out there.
To really grasp how VPNs work, you absolutely have to understand the critical difference between the 2 parts of your data packets, the header and the payload. Think of it literally like mailing a physical letter. When you visit a secure website, you'll see HTTPS in the address bar, right? That S stands for secure, and it encrypts your payload. That payload is the letter inside the envelope, your passwords, your credit card numbers, your private messages. Even that evil twin hacker just sees scrambled math here. But to route that packet across the internet, the header cannot be encrypted. The header is the outside of the envelope. It contains your source IP address and your destination IP address. It has to be completely in the clear, or else the internet infrastructure wouldn't have a clue where to deliver your traffic.
So, here's the kicker. Even with secure HTTPS websites, your internet service provider, your ISP, is constantly tracking exactly where you're going. They read the outside of every single envelope you send. They know your IP, they know the destination IP, and they know exactly how often you visit that destination. This leaves your surfing habits incredibly vulnerable. If your ISP suffers a data breach, those logs become public. If law enforcement shows up with a court order, they hand over your entire browsing history. Or, honestly, quite commonly, they might just use that raw data to relentlessly market to you, or even sell it for profit.
Which leads us directly into section 3, inside the VPN tunnel, and how we actually build a pipe to fix this glaring vulnerability.
To blind your ISP and protect those exposed headers, a VPN sets up a secure pipe. Let's break down exactly how this works step by step. Step 1. You install the VPN client software on your device. This software takes your entire packet, the payload letter and the header envelope, and encrypts the whole shebang, effectively putting it inside a second, totally opaque envelope. Step 2, it sends this newly encrypted package down a secure pipe straight to your VPN provider. Step 3, the VPN provider catches it, decrypts that outer layer, figures out the final destination you actually wanted to go to, and routes it there. And finally, step 4. The destination website receives the data, but to them, it looks like it came from the VPN server, not from you.
By routing your data through this tunnel, the mechanics of observation completely change. Your ISP is now totally blinded. Because of that outer layer of encryption, literally all they see is a connection repeatedly going to one single IP address, the VPN. They have zero clue what websites you're actually visiting. And on the flip side, the websites you visit are blinded too. They don't see your true source IP, they only see the IP address and the geographic location of the VPN server you're using.
And because your apparent location shifts to wherever that VPN server is based, this tunnel essentially acts as a digital master key. Say you're in a country with strict censorship laws that block independent news. You can just pick a VPN server in a different country and bypass those controls instantly. Same goes for streaming content. If a show is restricted to a specific region, routing your traffic through a server in that region tears down those geographical limitations. It's a massive win for free speech and open access.
But hey, let's do a quick reality check here. It's a pretty naive notion to believe a VPN gives you absolute, bulletproof anonymity. It's not a magical invisibility cloak. Yes, your ISP is blinded, and yes, your location is shifted, but look, if you log into your personal social media or your bank account while using a VPN, that website immediately knows exactly who you are. Plus, websites still use browser fingerprinting and tracking cookies. A VPN hides your IP address, for sure, but it absolutely does not stop those tracking cookies from following you around the web. It's a fantastic security tool, but you're not a ghost.
That reality check brings us to Section 4 and, honestly, the most critical trade-off of this entire explainer, the transfer of trust.
You've probably heard the old adage, if you aren't paying for it, you're the product, not the customer. Keep this front of mind when you see ads for VPNs, especially the free ones. Maintaining those lightning-fast global servers costs a massive amount of money. So how do they pay for it if the app is free? Well, they are highly likely to be monetizing your data, analyzing your traffic habits, and selling that incredibly valuable information to third-party advertisers just to turn a profit. Because remember, a VPN doesn't make your data miraculously disappear. It simply shifts your data from your local ISP to a third-party server. You're transferring your trust. The VPN provider now sees everything your ISP used to see. So you really have to scrutinize them. Do they keep logs of your traffic? Do they sell your data? Are their servers incredibly secure, or could they get hacked and expose all your browsing history? And just like an ISP, a VPN provider can be hit with a subpoena to hand over your records. If they do a great job and keep zero logs, your privacy is golden. If they don't, well, you haven't actually solved anything.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, Tor versus VPN. What if you just can't afford to trust any single third-party provider?
Enter Tor, which stands for the Onion Router. This is an entirely different approach to online privacy. Instead of putting all your trust into one VPN company, Tor is decentralized. It maximizes your anonymity by bouncing your data through 3 separate encrypted relay nodes. Think of it like putting your message inside 3 locked boxes nested inside each other. Each stop along the way only has the key to open one layer. Because of this multi-hop system, no single node in the network knows the whole story. The first stop knows who you are, but not where you're headed. The last stop knows where you're headed, but not who you are. Absolutely nobody can reconstruct your entire digital journey.
Now, when we put these two head-to-head, it's a classic trade-off. Tor definitively wins on providing strong, ultimate anonymity because it splits up the trust. But that comes at a massive cost to speed. Encrypting and decrypting across 3 random global servers makes Tor very slow. A VPN, on the other hand, heavily dominates on speed, meaning flawless video streaming, whereas Tor will just leave you staring at endless buffering circles. Plus, VPNs are incredibly simple. You just download an app and click Connect. Tor requires specific browsers and a bit more technical know-how to really use it effectively.
So what's the verdict? Essentially, it all comes down to your personal threat model. If you're a whistleblower trying to expose some massive abuse safely, and your actual life or freedom depends on unbreakable anonymity, Tor is absolutely your tool. But if you're just sitting at that local coffee shop we talked about, trying to check your bank balance and dodge an evil twin attack, Tor is massive overkill. For everyday privacy, speed, and security against local snoops, a VPN hits the nail right on the head.
And that wraps up our deep dive today. We've seen that a VPN tunnel is this incredibly powerful tool to blind your ISP, bypass censorship, and secure your data from local threats. But it doesn't make your digital footprint vanish into thin air. It simply changes who gets to see it. So the ultimate question you have to leave with today before you go and install that next privacy app is, who are you actually transferring your trust to? Think about that for a second. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.